I'm going to read a quote from, it is Dr. Andrew Salzman at Harvard. He's a renowned pharmaceutical inventor and chief medical officer at Wonderfuel. NAD is a cornerstone molecule for crucial cellular functions like fueling mitochondria and aiding in DNA repair. In fact, cells value NAD so highly that they protect it quite ferociously with reinforced outer layers that act as a strong barrier to keep it safely contained. NAD is actually quite a large molecule that doesn't readily cross the cell membrane, assuming it can even get there in the first place. When NAD is taken orally, it is not readily absorbed. And if you're wondering about IV therapy for NAD, here's what the research from a 2020 review have to say. The metabolism intravenously infused NAD and ADH is currently unclear. As an oral supplement, NAD is broken down in the digestive tract so that by the time it moves through the bloodstream, there's very little left to enter the cells. That's why we use NMN and NR. The smaller molecules are not only impressively resilient in the digestive tract, they are special keys that unlock the steel doors to our cells. And that access is what allows for NAD conversion once NMN and NR are safely inside the cell, right where they can be used most usefully. This continues from a lecture he gave. Based on a 2020 study, both NMN and NR are proven to bump up those NAD levels, which is great news for keeping our cells youthful and vigorous. But even though they are on the same team, they play the game a bit differently. So what sets them apart is a phosphate group and the fact that NMN has a direct link on the cell membrane that allows it to be shuttled into the cell more easily. If you're wasting your money on NAD directly, keep wasting it if that's what you want. If you want actual science-backed supplementation to improve your NAD results, and I can tell you this, I don't take NAD directly. I take NMN and I take NR. And when I just had my levels tested, they were like, wow, your levels are super high. And I take a liposomal version so that they're even more readily absorbed by the cell and not degraded in the digestive tract. So consider all of the science and then make a decision about where you want to spend your money. Me personally, I'm never taking an NAD supplement. It doesn't make sense, according to the science, and it doesn't make sense for the levels of NAD I have in my cells now with just taking the precursors and not spending a fortune on them. On top of that, the NAD supplement that I take that uses the precursors to NAD also has liposomal hyaluronic acid, it has liposomal vitamin C, and it has a liposomal 9 types of collagen available in it. This is all, of course, for educational purposes. You don't have to do anything that I say. You can keep doing what you're doing, but to me, it's a waste of money. And then let's get into the MTHFR. You and 60% of the world. 60% of the world have a single mutation. 40% of the world have a double mutation. It is not special. It is not unique. The problem is that everyone is just now learning about it, and they're making a much bigger deal out of it than they should be if everything else was going correctly. It is not the end-all be-all of everything that is causing any of your problems, anxiety, depression, autism, ADHD. It is just a factor that you have control over because it's an epigenetic factor that you have control over. So you get to turn it on and off. And part of that might be with what you're doing with your supplements. If you're taking something that your body can't absorb or can't process, the liver has to do that. That affects methylation long-term, which affects that MTHFR gene. Why do I say that? Because the end process of methylation is to get glutathione. Glutathione conjugation happens in the liver. So again, if you want to keep taking a supplement that puts more stress on your liver and puts more stress on that pathway, go for it. I would recommend that you change. You don't have to take the one that I'm taking. There's one that they're selling here on TikTok Shop that you absorb under the tongue. You hold it under the tongue. So you get to make that decision. It's not up to me. But I wouldn't be wasting my money on NAD.